I'm glad you mentioned that because the only case, to the best of my knowledge, in Canada, in let's say the post 9/11 period, where there was a terrorist attack, it took place in Toronto in 2016 in April, I believe, where a man called Ayanla Hassan Ali went into an armed force recruiting center in Markham, I believe, with a knife. He ended up wounding two soldiers. He was eventually found not criminally responsible for his attack, which I assume is that your section 16 you were referring to earlier?
Yes. Now, I was not involved in that case. I know people who were. It was the recruiting center on Yonge Street in North York.
Right.
And he was found not criminally responsible. And I have dealt with people who have murdered individuals and then either after the fact or it was part of their paranoid beliefs beforehand, they incorporate a, for lack of a better word, jihadist interpretation to their actions. So that can occur, but it's rare. There was also that woman. Again, I wasn't involved in that case. Who killed someone in the underground in Toronto in a store.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know enough details about the case, but there was an element of paranoia there apparently that had to do with some religiosity. But
Mm-hmm.
religious delusions are not uncommon.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you can sometimes get a person who will marry the religious delusions with what's happening out in society, and delusions kind of follow with what's going on in the present time. I mean, in the 1800s, people did not have delusions about aliens or UFOs, right?
Because we didn't know the existence of either.
Exactly. People at the turn of the last century didn't think that radios were talking about them, or the images on TV were directed towards them, because there was no radio as we know it then or now, or TV. So there can be a cultural aspect to this. To go one step further, I mentioned that around 35% of the lone actors, sometimes they are kind of so aggressive and impatient, etc., they don't do well in the extremist groups. So they will essentially be kicked out, but they're action motivated.
I have heard that where terrorist groups will actually refuse to deal with people because they essentially they can't trust them. And they're not reliable because they're not stable enough to actually take orders and implement the orders, and they actually jeopardize operations rather than to help them succeed.
Exactly, which is why you're not going to find individuals with major mental illnesses within terrorist cells. A good example would be, I think it was 5 summers ago, where a couple went into a restaurant in Vegas and murdered 2 police officers. They had scouted out the restaurant before. They knew that police would frequent there. And they came in and they executed the police officers, and then covered the bodies with, one was an Aryan flag, the other one was that flag that was co-opted from the American Revolution, "Don't Tread on Me,"
Right.
the snake.
Snake, yeah.
Yeah, and which the U.S. Navy actually adopted as well. But they were apparently guests at the Bundy farm and were kicked off the farm because they were so,
Unpredictable.
well, whatever it was, they weren't patient enough. They were more action motivated.